Hi everyone, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Anna, and you're listening to We Judge a Show by Its Pilot, a podcast hosted by us, a married couple with an endless love for TV.
Whether you're looking for a new show to binge or wanting to revisit an old classic, let us be your guide through the infinite list of TV shows.
So come join us every Friday as we discuss the pilot for a TV show while also sharing personal stories that parallel the storylines.
We Judge a Show by Its Pilot, where your new favorite show is just one click away. Hello everyone, welcome back to our pod.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. We have, so we did a pretty good job of recording ahead of schedule, but it was this one specific week where we kept changing our minds on what shows we were going to do. Oh yeah, of course. We originally were going to do Alien Earth, but we decided to do Overcompensating. We did stick with It Welcome to Derry. There was no other option.
Yeah,
of course we were
going
to pick that. And then the last one for the month that you're going to hear next week is different than the rest. So we kind of felt like it was a good enough show to kind of keep around. But it was this week's episode that we kind of kept... We weren't avoiding it, but we were just kind of like, okay, well, there were just so many good shows that came out this year. And it was just like picking that last one that's been like this show is really good. No, this show is really good. And we picked this show last week. I think we randomly started watching it, and we were both just like, we should just do this one. Like it feels.
Well, we started watching it after all of the award seasons have been going on, and I actually watched the Golden Globes, and it really just stuck out to me. Yeah. And I was just like, first off, I just have to watch it because I'm like, it keeps getting all these awards. And then going back to the show that we originally chose, I felt like we would have way more to discuss in a different way than the other one. So,
So today we are judging the pilot for Adolescence, which has kind of been one of the big award-winning shows this year.
Oh, yeah.
And we also learned of it. We are avid Smosh watchers. We love our YouTube. Yeah. And they did a best of 2025 Jeopardy, which is like their trivia quiz show. And this was one of the questions, and this was one of the trivia questions, and it had a very interesting format, and that kind of really piqued our interest, and for both of us. And so I think we both watched this show and we were like, oh, well, we'll have some stuff to talk about.
It was just like we felt this was definitely more current, even though Hunting Wives is already renewed and will be back, but we'll maybe bring that later on in 2026 for something. Sure. But with this one, we were just like, we watched all of this. It's only 4 episodes, but we watched it pretty quick.
It also was kind of a completely separate genre than the 3 other shows we have, which I think we also kind of want to do. Hunting Wives, although very different, had a similar vibe to Overcompensating with the steamy romance type stuff, and even though they're 2 completely different shows, it's just they kind of fell in the same kind of genre of sexy sex stuff. All right, so we are going to talk Adolescence. We're going to talk about the pilot. We're going to talk about some other stuff. But before we do any of that, Anna's going to do what she always does and give us some episode and series information.
Adolescence, Episode 1. Adolescence is a British psychological crime drama that premiered on Netflix on March 13th, 2025. It currently has 1 season and 4 episodes. The series was created by Stephen Graham and Jack Thorne. Thorne is a well-known playwright and screenwriter. His most notable works are the stage play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the Netflix original movie Enola Holmes and its sequel His Dark Materials, and Toxic Town. Graham is mostly known for his acting roles in film and TV, such as Snatch, This Is England, the Venom films, and one of my favorites, Young Woman and the Sea, and many others. This guy books.
I was looking up his filmography, and I'm like, God, this guy's been in so much, and not just a lot of credits, just a lot of really well-known movies. And I was just like, God, and that's why I wrote this guy books. And also Young Woman in the Sea, probably one of our favorite films to come out in the last couple years. If you haven't seen it, it's on Disney+.
Yeah. Adolescence centers around a 13-year-old schoolboy, Jamie Miller, who is accused and arrested for the murder of one of his classmates. Each episode focuses on an aspect of the criminal and legal system. Episode 1 centers around Jamie's arrest and the procedure of being processed when arrested. Episode 2 follows the detectives questioning other classmates of the accused and the victim. Episode 3 entirely focuses on Jamie's psychological evaluations, and episode 4 follows Jamie's family trying to gain some normalcy back into their lives. The series is unique in that every episode is filmed in one continuous shot.
Legitimately all one continuous shot, and I kept forgetting that they did that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was like, it's literally just like an hour of their life, like in real time. Like it's
very
so cool.
theater. We talked about that. We were like, oh, it's
very
like
much
theater.
like a play. Yeah.
The series stars co-creator Stephen Graham as Eddie Miller, Jamie's father, Ashley Walters and Faye Marseille as detectives Luke Bascombe and Misha Frank, the two police officers investigating Jamie's case, Owen Cooper as Jamie Miller, the young boy accused of murdering his classmate, Christine Tremarco as Amanda Miller, Jamie's mother, Amelia Pease as Lisa Miller, Jamie's older sister, Erin Doherty as Brioni Ariston, the psychologist assigned to evaluate Jamie. The series was mostly conceived by Graham as a response to the rising cases of knife crimes amongst teenage boys. He wanted to explore the motivations of extreme acts of violence against young girls by young boys. Graham reached out to Thorne and the two began collaborating. The two wanted to examine modern male rage and the influence public figures such as Andrew Tate have on boys. Adolescence has received critical acclaim and is being praised for its innovative filmmaking, superb acting, and topical storyline. The series would go on to win 8 Primetime Emmys and 4 Golden Globes. Graham, Cooper, and Doherty both won Emmys and Golden Globes for their acting, and the series itself won Best Limited Series for both awards as well. You don't have this here, but Cooper is the youngest Emmy and Golden Globe winner for supporting actor.
Nice.
Yep. Although it has been labeled as a miniseries, talks of a second season have been confirmed by Graham and Thorne, stating they may revisit the series in a few years. You can currently watch the series on Netflix.
Yep. All right. So why... I mean, basically you can give a general answer or you can give a elaborate answer, however you feel like it. But why did you, because it was kind of you that kind of picked the show for this. It was your idea, I would say. So what made you want to pick it?
Well, when I had heard about the Emmys, I had seen that he had gotten it and that he had been like the youngest Emmy winner for that category ever. And then the Golden Globes came on, which of course is movie and television. Yeah. So that's one of my faves because it brings both worlds into one award show. And when he won again, I was just like, I think we need to watch this because I read a little bit about what it was. You know me, I love a good legal drama. Mm. And I think it's very current in the sense of something that I particularly did not grow up with. I think you grew up with the onset of having access to the internet and
kinda, yeah.
Well, you did. I mean, you were in high school, you had access to internet.
Yeah, I'll blanket answer yes. It's way more complicated than that, but yes, because it's not the internet that we have today.
Correct.
It was literally going on. We literally had to go online, whereas now internet just exists. I mean,
well, yes, babe, but I'm saying you have had technological access for much longer in your life than I did, particularly in high school.
Yes.
Like you were doing chats and probably AIM messaging and stuff. I'm just saying, for me, and again, I do not also have my own children. So for me, I have always been very curious as to the relationships parents have with their kids now with so much access to information. I mean, if it wasn't in the newspaper or on the evening news, you just didn't really know about it until like maybe weeks later. I mean, now things are instantaneous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can chat with a friend across the country. Heck, you can chat with someone you don't know across the globe. So I think that those things really have changed adolescence.
Oh, yeah.
In the sense of, how do you parent? How do you monitor this? How does it affect kids these days with having so much access to them?
Right.
And so I kind of was intrigued by that, because I also was an actual teacher in the early 90s, actually. And, you know, the internet was still coming around. It wasn't there yet. I mean, you know, I had a computer in my apartment. It was my roommate's, but, you know, we didn't really have even anything like AOL. I mean, we used it to write tests and print them out on a printer. But I just felt like it was a really interesting idea, and I wanted to see what it was about. And it was only 4 episodes. So I figured even if we didn't like it, we could watch and finish it in a couple of days.
Right.
So what did you think of it?
I mean, it was a very interesting kind of look into a part of, you know, crime dramas are a dime a dozen nowadays. Procedural shows are a dime a dozen. I mean, for the last 30 years, there's cop show after, you know, FBI, crime shows, whatever. And this one really kind of showed a more, I would say, realistic aspect of the process of being arrested and how monotonous and mundane it actually is, like how mundane and monotonous the legal system kind of is. And I mean, like, I think what made the series so interesting is that they were kind of showing us the mundane, but that kind of somehow made it like really interesting, because you're like, oh, this actually feels like how this would really be, like.
Yeah.
And also to kind of jump on today's adolescent, you know, today's adolescents are so much different than when you were growing up, so much different than when I was growing up. Yes, I did have the internet, I think, starting when I was in like middle school, maybe. The only kind of argument I always make, because I mean, when people say that, when people are like, oh, well, you grew up with the internet, it's like, yes and no. It's like, yes, I did, but it wasn't the internet that we are speaking of today.
Correct.
And I think that's why I'm always like, because that's kind of how people imply it. It's like, oh, no, this is how the internet's always been. And I'm like, no, the internet it never felt infinite to me when I was like growing up. It was very much like chat rooms, instant messenger, which was really cool and which was really, you know, I loved. And yes, you were talking to people from all over the world. You didn't know if they were who they really were, all of that stuff. But it really wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like it is today. And that's why I'm always just kind of like, well, yes, I grew up with the internet, but I also it was very limited. I think that's a good way to kind of put it. It was very limited, and I think my parents monitored it because it was easier for them to monitor it. Like, it was easier for them to kind of look over my shoulder and be like, who are you talking to? What are y'all talking about? Like, now, I didn't have a computer in my room, you know, like how it is now. I didn't have a phone or a laptop or anything.
Well, now kids have
the internet.
Tablets,
and that's
and
what I mean. Like,
phones.
it was like, if you wanted to go, that's why, like, Shane from Smosh kind of put it this way, and I never really thought of it this way. It was like, we grew up with the internet going online, like physically having to go online. Like, in order for me to go on AOL, I couldn't do it in the middle of the night because the computer was in our kitchen. And in order to sign on, if any of y'all remember signing on to AOL, it loud as hell, and it also blocked your phone call. So if you got a phone call, someone would know that you were online. So like, if I was like sick at home, my mom was like, don't go on AOL because I'll try to call you throughout the day. My dad would do the same thing. My dad would just unplug the phone jack, and I didn't realize that's how the internet works. And so like, my dad, like, I think I figured it out one day, and I'm like, oh, I still can't do it because my dad's going to randomly call me at some point. My dad's a little bit more tech savvy, so he knew all of that. But yeah, that's why I always say, like, when people say you grew up with the internet, I'm like, it's a little different, but yes, I technically have had the internet. Like, you're not wrong. Like, I have had the internet since I was probably like 7th grade, I would say 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah, and what I mean is exactly what you're saying was it was still sort of new and the access wasn't as available, but you were starting to dip your toes in it, whereas now, and even kind of why I do enjoy watching these shows and things like Smosh is because I'm an old fogey and I am learning new stuff every day when I do watch these YouTube channels or these anthology series or limited series, because it all kind of focuses on a word, incel.
Yeah.
And I kind of first really learned the word incel from Smosh.
Yeah.
And it was in one of their Smosh Pit episodes, Challenge Pit episodes. And they were doing portmanteau. And I was like, what's an incel? And you kind of explained it to me. And I'm like, oh. But even more so, this show taught me more about the things that incels,
the manosphere, all that stuff,
and their hate and against women. So it was, to me, very enlightening in that way. And I was just like, whoa, this is like actually something serious. And that's, I think, why it's garnered such attention. And kind of the reality of it is, you know, what are parents dealing with? It's just a whole new kind of exposure to information.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever really watched anything that like really shined a light on the incel subculture. Like I didn't really, I knew about it and like I understood what it was, and being a regular on Reddit, I've run into many. So I mean, like you definitely know when you're talking to one. They all kind of have very similar vocabularies. They have very similar phrasings and wordage that they use, and to me it's just like deeply rooted in insecurity and the need for validation. And I think that's what so many young men want and need, and we are so insecure when we're 12, 13, 14 years old, and the need for validation, and even if it's a negative, as long as you're getting some type of attention, you view that as like positive reinforcement, and so you continue acting this way until you start really believing what you're saying, until you really start really being who you say you are, rather than it just being like a way to get attention or a way to rile someone up or to like cause a ruckus or stir things up.
Well, I did want to ask you, I mean, in the sense, and you know, of being an incel, not that you are an incel, but I'm just like,
I'm not speaking from personal experience.
Correct. So if you are an incel, which stands for involuntarily celibate, is it something you take on, that identity, or do you is it something you feel you have?
So I don't know for certain, so I'm not going to claim, you know, I consider myself pretty up to date on like current stuff, but with like pop culture stuff, but like I'm not entirely sure if an incel would call themselves an incel.
Right.
I think it's like I think it's just almost like a derogatory term at this point in time.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, like, in a sense of like, I don't think anyone is like proudly calling themselves an incel. I think it's mostly used as an insult or a way to kind of generalize someone's misogyny. I mean, like, basically someone's, you know, very warped view of women. And it wasn't that long ago, it was actually yesterday, where I saw it got removed from the unpopular opinion subreddit, but it was basically this guy talking about how men look at romance. It's funny that I just saw this yesterday, but like how men view romance in a realistic way and women view romance in the Hallmark version of romance.
Oh, Princess Cinderella.
And no, I mean, like, men have a more realistic view of love than women do, because women are easily influenced by romance. He was, like, putting down women. I mean, well, like,
that's what I'm saying.
And it was, your face, I thought you were, like, agreeing with it. I'm like, what? Okay,
no,
sorry.
I'm just saying I think that is the perception that people have. Yeah.
No, I mean, well, I really wish they didn't remove it, because I could actually, like, read it, and it would make more sense of what I'm trying to get through, because anyway, it was just a very, like, if you are older, he sounded like either he was a teenager or he had never talked to a girl before. I mean, like, it was just very much like, and all the comments are just like, you know, r/incel. Like, this belongs in the incel subreddit. This belongs in the manosphere subreddit. Like, it was just, he was getting those kind of comments. I think he deleted it. No, the subreddit, the moderators deleted it because his username was still popping up. And then you go on his post and comment history, and you see where he regularly comments and where he regularly posts. And it sounds very much like he's just a teenager. He was a teenager who had no real grasp on what goes on in women's minds and what is the reality of how women perceive love, which is the same as men, because we're the same. I mean, like, it's just they view women as like this different species of human, and it's like, no, we're both human. We both want the same things. And it's like, it's almost like they put them on a pedestal, but then they put them on a lower pedestal than themselves. And so it's just like, it's like they're separate, but I look down on them, but I want them to notice me. It's very fucked up. It's very fucked up.
Well,
like, it's very.
I'm just saying, I think now it just has a name, because I'm just gonna go back to my experience, and just for the listeners, Jeff and I are 15 years in age difference, so we grew up in different eras, and I mean, as I learned this term via Smosh, and then actually watching this, and then learning more about the culture and how it develops and whatnot, is as I'm like, well, doesn't every generation kind of have that? Because, like, and again, because I just was like, there was always the boy or the girl that was considered like not the cute one, or not one that like anyone liked. And I think that's how it kind of, I feel like how it kind of starts. Is like, ew, they're the creepy person and no one's going to talk to them. And then, so it's sort of this sort of self-identified, placed upon me identity. I think they are just taking off with it. And they're like, fine, I hate you and women, and I am just going to sit in front of my computer and rage hate on people. Whereas back in the 70s and 80s, when I was in elementary, junior high, and high school, that happened, but there was just no capability of like expressing that. And I think that's the difference now, is that there's the ability to express it, post it, share it, chat with people, and join forces. Because you can now find other people like that. Whereas, in one middle school, if there are a couple of boys or girls that people don't like, I mean, it just sort of stayed in the school, or in your class. I mean, no one else really knew or cared. But now it's like they kind of become their own force of people. And that's the sort of scary thing. So anyway, I know we've been talking a lot about incels now.
It's okay. Well, I mean, it's a huge part of the show. I mean, it's a huge part of at least one of the episodes.
Well, I think it's all of it.
Yeah, and I think
don't know it.
I think another thing is since this is 4 episodes, it's a super easy show to watch. You can watch it in. You can watch it in a day. You can watch it in a day so easily. Yeah, it's like less than 4 hours. What I loved was episode 4, the final episode. That was probably my favorite one. And that's the one about the family. So I don't want to skip ahead too much, because if y'all haven't watched it, I'm not gonna like spoil anything. But it really is just this whole discussion of when a child does something horrendous, whether or not the accused on the show, whether or not Jamie did it, which we're not going to talk about that until we start talking about the episode summary. But whenever I lost track of what I was saying, sorry.
The episode 4.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so kind of this whole discussion of, nature versus nurture, and this discussion of, when a child, I'm back on track. When a child does something horrendous, like commit a crime, murder, whatever, people always kind of immediately go to blame the parents because their child doesn't know any better, which there's a nugget of truth to that. I'm not going to sit here and say that your upbringing has nothing to do with it, but it really is kind of this exploration of, is it really the parents' fault, or was this child just going to be what he was going to be, or she going to be, no matter what? And you hear of these serial killers or serial attackers that you hear their upbringing and you're like, oh, no wonder they turned out that way. But then you have the ones that are just kind of like, okay, well, there was something wrong with him and no one just ever like diagnosed it, or no one ever like caught it or something, because you look at someone like Jeffrey Dahmer, who grew up in a totally normal middle class upbringing, and I'm taking the Ryan Murphy, Evan Peters thing out of it because I feel like that they humanized him and victimized him a little too much. And they kind of blamed it a little too much on his family and his mom supposedly being crazy, but like it was, he had a very normal upbringing. And then you look at other serial killers and you're just like, oh, well, no wonder they turned out that way. And it's like, well, would they have turned out that way anyway? Like, not justifying a child being abused or neglected or whatever by your parents. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, abuse or not, would they have just turned out that way anyway? Would they have been?
Was it already? Are you just
born with it? And we watch a lot of stuff about serial killers. We watch a lot of stuff about murders in general. And what they always say is, what they say about 90% of these people are like, they were just so, like the episode of Criminal Minds, they were just so normal. Like they looked so normal. They seemed so normal. And that is another kind of aspect of it. It's just like, when you see a 13-year-old boy, 14-year-old boy, before you know that they're a criminal, you're like, oh, they just look like a normal teenage boy. But then once you learn that about them, you start looking at them differently, and you're like, oh, they look evil, or whatever. Like, it's just the whole show of Adolescence really just digs deep into the mind of someone that you would perceive as evil, but you kind of keep looking under the surface, and you're just like, do they just need to be, is there rehabilitation? Like, can you be rehabilitated? Can you change from wanting to kill people to not wanting to kill people? Like, and it kind of just explores all of it. But episode 4, something that a lot of crime shows don't do, is they kind of focus on like the family of the accused, rather than this could have very easily been a show about the victim. This could have been very easily about like the victim's family. I don't think we ever saw a picture of the victim. I don't think we ever saw.
I think had it like won by the memorial or something.
And they did. Yeah, you're right. And then they didn't explore like her family or her side of things. You kind of saw a little bit of like her friend in the school episode, and that's kind of your only real. And
a little bit of like Instagram.
Posting,
and it barely.
And it really just kind of explores, like I said, the legal part of it and the psychological part of it. And I was just very intrigued. I could have watched that entire show in one day. I think we almost did, but it was like late. By the time we got to episode 4, we're like, okay, we need to stop, because I think we watched the first 3 in one night, and then we were like, it's late.
We actually waited an extra day because you had to work or something, and then I had to do something. But so we watched 3 in one day, skipped a day, and then watched it. Yeah.
And then watched all of His and Hers.
All right.
All right. So this is about the death of a classmate, and you don't have to, you can, like the question before, you can elaborate or kind of not elaborate. But is there anyone that you knew in school that passed away, like while you were in school?
Yeah. So there was, when between freshman and sophomore year, a classmate of mine, so I went to a magnet school, and you had to keep a certain GPA. Well, he had actually failed out. So he was going to be going to like our district school after. So he went to freshman year with us, and he lived in Algiers near like where my mom lived. And I actually happened to be in Miami, Florida, visiting my dad's side of the family with my mom and my dad. This was the summer of 1984. And it was really weird. We were there for like over 2 weeks. So this to me is just going to tell you like how different things were in the mid 80s. So my friend Catherine, who's still one of my close friends today, sent me a letter and told me about our classmate dying. And she had explained, and this had all happened over like a period of like 3 days. Actually, they had been at the local country club pool, and he was kind of a jokester and kind of funny. And what was crazy was he was on the country club swim team, and he had been joking and goofing off in the swimming pool all day. And there was like the regular diving board, the middle diving board, and then the high dive, because the country club also had like a swim and dive team.
Gotcha.
And he was on the swim and the dive team. And, you know, like most country clubs, they have like the snack stand and the, you know, the food bar. And apparently he had eaten, and I don't want to like go to the tale of you're not supposed to eat right away. You're supposed to wait like an hour. Well, he had supposedly eaten, and he got on the high dive. And when he had done the dive, apparently he had thrown up midair. And when he hit the water, it backlogged into his throat, and he didn't come up.
Oh, wow.
And everyone thought he was joking. And when he didn't come up, and like a few minutes passed by, people were like, oh shit, he's not joking. And people were diving in, pulled him out. Paramedics were called, EMT. He was on life support for several days, and they kept him on life support, I think, to donate his organs. And I will never forget the day. It was before July. It was July 3rd of 1984. And they had decided to do it that day because his mother apparently didn't want him to die on a holiday, because she said she wanted to try to forget it. But I don't know if that was true or not. I never spoke to his mom specifically about it. But I remember my friend Catherine writing me a letter to tell me this, and she had mailed it to me, because I had like I had sent her a postcard, and somehow I guess on the postcard I included my uncle's return address. That's the lessons we learned. You always included a return. So she had written me, because we were gone like for 2 or 3 weeks at my uncle's that summer. And so that was one. That one hit hard, especially because he was in my class. He lived in my neighborhood. We had gone to like church youth group together, and I also knew his brother. So that one, I just always remember it was like really, really tough. The other one was a classmate. He was in the year behind me. So he was the class of 88, and it was during like Christmas break, and he and his family had gone skiing. And I think it was either 85 or 86. I don't remember exactly. I could look it up, but he had died in a skiing accident over the break. And I remember when we came back, it was like everyone was talking about it. I think the funeral had already happened. He didn't live in a part of town that I lived in, and he was in the class behind me. And, you know, but we knew everyone at my school. So I knew him, I knew of him. But it was still sad. Like, you know, you're on a freaking family vacation and you die, like that's just, both of those were just horrendous. And in that aspect was like, you know, your son just went to the pool to go hang out during the middle of summer for, you know, summer break. And then, or you go skiing and you have a skiing accident. So those were the two. And again, just very hard to just kind of be like, wow, someone my age died. You know, those were the hard things. What about you? Did anyone like in your grade or school?
Yes. So it was towards the end of my junior year of high school when I came to school one day, and so at the high school that I went to was very open. It was like 6 different buildings, and there was like a lot of like, I went to a school called Woodlawn. It had a very large lawn.
Kind of like a quad.
Yeah, it had like a very large quad, and before school, everyone would kind of gather around there before the bell rang and stuff. And I remember walking up to school, and I just was seeing people like crying. I was seeing people like really upset, and everyone was like very somber. And I was like, what's going on? And they were just like, her name was Jasmine. She was in my class, and she died in a car accident. And I was just like, oh my God. And they were like kind of telling me about it. And it was like there were like other classmates in the car, and they were on the interstate. And I don't know exactly what happened, but like someone like a passenger like bumped their elbow on the steering wheel, and because they were like dancing in the car, I think, or something like that, and just being silly teenagers. And I think Jasmine was in the back seat in the middle and wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and she was the only one that died. Everyone else survived, and so it was very, very sad. She was very sweet. I had a couple classes with her. I sat next to her in one of my classes, which was very weird. And that was the first time I really experienced someone my age dying, or really like personally, and the fact that I had like 3 classes with her. She sat next to me in environmental science. I'll never forget, because she sat right next to me in environmental science. And it was she was like a class favorite. Everyone really loved her. Like, it was just one of those kind of, she was one of those kind of people that everyone just really liked and everyone really got along with. Very sweet. And then, I mean, not even a month later, another kid in my class, his name was Zed, he committed suicide. I don't know. I didn't really know him that well. He was a nice guy, but like, I just didn't really know him that well. So I didn't really know what all transpired. He was on the baseball team. He was like a jock, and everyone was very shocked because he was very popular and really nice guy, really funny, got along with everybody. So everyone was just it was very shocking. And then very shortly after I graduated high school, 2 girls in my class died in a car accident off of Airline. And these 2 girls I knew very well. I did theater with them. I went to middle school with one of them. And that was very sad because they both signed my senior yearbook. And so it was very sad to like kind of go back and be like, seeing their handwriting in my yearbook and being friends with them all 4 years of high school. And it was just that was the one that, I was sad about Jasmine and about Zed, but those 2 were the ones that I was very upset about that. Yeah. We weren't like best friends or anything, but it was just, I consider myself friends with them, and it was just very sad. And it's not so much a joke as it is just something that we say. We do kind of consider our class kind of cursed. I've had several classmates since then pass away. So we just kind of, at young age, I recently had one of my friends pass away not too long ago. He was very young as well. I think he was like 38 or 39 when he passed away. It was very sad. And and those are the ones that I remember. I don't think anyone else did, but those are the ones that I like clearly remember. And it was very sad. And when they're so young, it hits you in a different way. It hits you in this could happen to me. That's when you really start understanding your own mortality, and you really kind of start realizing like, oh, this is going to happen to me one day, and I don't know when it's going to be. It's just this terrifying idea. And it's why I'm not a huge fan of talking about death. I'm not a huge fan of thinking about it, because it's just, I think I am someone that I like to be in control of things like my life and it's just very scary that I have no control over that, because obviously I'm not going to do it to myself. So
so speaking of like the car accident ones, I think one of the first times I remember kids dying was, and if Rebecca is listening, so near my mom's house on like one of these side streets, I remember 2 of Rebecca's classmates died in a car accident.
Oh,
they were supposedly, I don't remember, if Rebecca's listening she can comment. I remember one of their names, I don't want to say it, but they were supposedly drag racing. And I think they lost control of their car, and the people that they were drag racing with left the scene, and supposedly all these horrible things. But I remember, because that had to have happened when Rebecca was like a junior, because there was a dedication in their senior yearbook to them. So it had to have been at least a year before that. But so when Rebecca was around 16 or 17, I was probably like 10 or 11 top. So I just remember Rebecca talking to my mom about it and being like, oh my gosh, these girls, we just found out like over the weekend, and my mom asking her what had happened, and they were drag racing down Lenox Boulevard, and they ran into the dead end into like the I don't know, what do you call it? Not the barricade, but like, at the dead end of a street, usually where there's like posts and like a, something that like kind of blocks like
a blockade barricade.
Barricade. Yeah. And that supposedly that they ran into that. And I'm like, why would you be drag racing at a dead end?
Yeah.
Like, that didn't make sense. But again, I was 6 or 7 or 10 or 11, and I was like, okay. Anyway, yep, those were some of the times that I first heard of people our age dying.
Right. Yeah. I think a kid died in my sister's class at Parkview at some point. I remember because he died in a car accident on Elliott Road, like less than a mile away from our house. So that I remember that one too, but I didn't know him, so it wasn't. And I was so young, it didn't absorb in my brain.
Yeah.
All right, so the show is called Adolescence, so it would be weird for us not to talk about maybe our teenage years a little bit. So specifically, what type of teenager were you, and how did your parents deal with you? In general.
Yeah. So I will say I really tried to learn from my brother and my sister. Again, we are like 6.5 and 10 years apart. So my brother's 10 years older than me, and my sister's a little bit over 6 years older than I am. And I saw and again, keep in mind, my dad was a merchant marine. He was a cook. So he was out at sea, 7 to 9 months out of the year, sometimes longer. So it was really our mom and raising us and having to run the household, manage the budget, manage 3 children at some point. Well, so I will say by the time I got to my teen years, both my siblings were gone. Mm-hmm. And I always talk about that in the sense where, my brother and my sister both had buffers, there was always one of us able to be in trouble, where when it was just me and my mom, I was it. I was the one who had likely caused whatever was happening. But on the flip side of that, my mom and I also did get along very well. Yeah. And I know this is going to sound like a contradiction because she was pretty strict, but she was also pretty liberal with things. And so I'm not going to say my mom and I never were we're best friends. My mom was my mom. My mom was my parent. She felt her job was to feed, clothe, and educate me. But she also gave me the ability to have experiences and to do things and to gain my independence and to earn trust. That being said, I did do a lot of stupid shit. I took the car. She got very upset and we fought. She also at some point threatened to send me to a convent, and of course my dad said absolutely not, because she thought I needed to be that was her version of military school. And so I think there were good times. There were also very tough growing pains. And the thing that I will say in comparison to this show was there was nothing that was happening in our house that my mom didn't know about. Yeah. With the exception of, I will say something like a sneaking out of the house. Yeah. Of course, because my mom was sleeping, she wouldn't have heard us sneak out of the house. But, anything that was in our house to my mom was considered fair game. Our backpacks, our purses, anything in our drawers, in our jewelry box, under our mattress. I mean, it was like her house. Yeah. I mean, she's like, until you can get your own house and apartment, anything you bring in here, I need to know about. And so, I remember she would find school notes that me and my friends would write. I mean, we were probably talking about boys or what we wanted to do. And then, my mom would be like, why are you writing notes in school? Shouldn't you be paying attention in class? And so just silly stuff like that. And I think that's where I was coming from when I talked about the differences in access and technology from this show to when I grew up. Because like you, I remember AOL. I was in law school, and when you were on AOL, it took the phone. And so that was my mom loved talking on the phone at times to her friends and whoever. And she'd be like, Doña so-and-so Sada was trying to call me and you were on the internet for like hours and no one could call. And she's like, I'm going to have to limit you. And, so even as a like 27-year-old while I was living at home for law school, like my mom was like, this is my house and you can't be on the internet. So, we definitely like had ups and downs as parent-child. And looking back, probably then I was aggravated and annoyed and was like, I need a new mom. But, looking back now, I'm like, it was better for me. I mean, I needed guidance. I needed structure and rules. And, obviously I survived. But I feel like I feel like I was a pretty good teenager. I did stupid teenagery things, sneaking out of the house, drinking. I mean, I don't think I was a bad teenager. I don't think I did anything completely insane. Maybe a couple of things, nothing too horrendous. Nothing really illegal that I can think of. What about you?
Well, we had different teen years. Yes. I would say my early teen years, I'll say like 13, 14, 15 years old, probably about 13 to 15 was very angsty, was very emotional. I'm already like in my real self, I'm a pretty dramatic, emotional person. So I always say, just imagine me when I was a teenager. It was like me times 10 probably. I was very... it was really hard for me to socialize for a really long period of time. Then I got into theater and it got a lot easier. I was able to kind of come out of my shell and it was a lot easier for me to talk to people. So by the time I got to about age 14, 15, 16 years old, I started to like kind of be a little bit more comfortable with myself. But those early teen years, man, like they were bad. And I was staying out of my house. I was doing illegal things. I was doing things that I was doing things that my parents still don't know about to this day. And I will not tell you, so don't try to ask. And
same.
And there are things that they don't know about to this day that I could probably tell them now, and my mom would probably be like, what in the hell were you she'll kind of do that. And
I love when she does that.
Yeah, like, what the hell were you, because my mom has a pretty good sense of humor about like when we were young. And I think your mom growing up was somewhat like my mom. My mom was not stupid. She's like, I know you're gonna drink. What do you want? My mom was,
let me go get you a bottle of wine from Schwegmann's.
I think the way my mom handled me was much different than my sister, because my sister and I were just so different. And what would work on my sister wouldn't work on me. Like, and I think my mom was kind of like learning that as I was getting older. Like, all my mom had to do to my sister was be like, I'm taking the phone away from you. And it was like the end of the world for my sister, because much like your mom, my sister loved talking on the phone. And pre-internet, that was how we communicated with our friends. So that was her big deal. You really couldn't take much from me, and I wouldn't find ways to entertain myself. So, I mean, like, you could take away my TV, you could take away my toys, you could take away my video games, and my mom would come into my room, and I'm pretending that my colored pencils are people, and I'm doing what I used to call pencil people.
Yeah.
And, so it was a very different for me, but when I got a little older, I think my mom understood, because she was also a rebellious teen, and she also did similar things. You skip class and go, drink and, go party. Like, we had similar teen years in that we were very rebellious and didn't really care that much about school, and was much more interested in like the social aspect of school. And was pretty much me. I would say that as a teenager, other than those early years, as I got older, I became a lot more chill. I had a big event happen to me in 10th grade where I came to school under the influence, and I got in a lot of trouble. I almost got expelled. I failed the first half of my sophomore year because they wouldn't let me take my finals. And, well, it was either they basically were just like, so I came to school under the influence. It was right at the end of the first semester of my sophomore year, and I got suspended, I think, for 5 days. And they were either like, tell us who gave you those pills, or you had like a few options. It was like you could tell us who took the pills, who sold you the pills, or you can you like I was possibly going to be getting expelled. I was possibly going to be in a lot of trouble because this was the first. So my freshman year of high school was the first year they introduced the zero tolerance policy. And then my sophomore year was when they were like, shit, we need to enforce this. And earlier that semester, a group of kids from my grade brought alcohol on a field trip and got drunk, and they got expelled. So my sophomore year was really when they started like trying to crack down on the discipline part of it. And I was almost expelled. So basically they were just like, you could tell us who gave you the pills, and or we will or you're going to get expelled, or we're not going to let you take your finals. Like there was just like, I kind of had like a few options, and I was just like, well, I'm not going to sell out the person who sold me the pills because they didn't get me caught. I got me caught. I didn't have to do all of that at school. And then the other thing was like, I don't want to be expelled. So I kind of opted. I was like, I guess I'm failing the first semester of my sophomore year because I don't want to get expelled. And I mean, like, if I get expelled, I'm still going to fail my sophomore year. So I was just like, let me just fail. And so I wasn't able to. I failed, I think, 5 classes my 10th grade, first part of my 10th grade year. And then I just spent the rest of high school trying to catch up. This is the prime example of why I hate the man, and this is the prime example of why I hate the school system, and this is the prime reason why I like so much of authority and the school system I just despise and I hate it because, I mean, yes, I made a mistake, but it was like, y'all really need to do all that? Suspending me wasn't enough. Like, y'all have to make me do all of this other stuff, too, to make an example out of me. But that's all said and done. But, like, once that happened, I really kind of, like, I was like, okay, like, I gotta keep my head down and, like, stay under the radar and not get in any trouble. And so the second half of high school, I was a lot more, like, I stayed home a lot. I got really into, that's where I think I honestly really started getting into watching movies. I really started getting into writing. I really started getting back into theater. And so it sucks that happened, but I'm glad that it happened. And I think that there were so many times where my parents just didn't know what to do with me because they were used to like Sarah stuff where it was like, oh, I got in trouble for passing notes in class, or I got in trouble for, I think my sister got really in trouble like one time in high school, and that was kind of, maybe it was more than once because I was so young, I don't remember, but in my mind, her things that she got in trouble were much tamer than the things that I was getting in trouble for. Right. So like, my parents just kind of didn't know what to do with me for a little while, so I was like, let me just make this easy on everybody and just like kind of chill out for a little while. And my parents kind of realized that like grounding me wasn't really gonna make a difference. Like, I wasn't one of those kids where like I got punished and I was like, I learned my lesson. It was just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to do and say what I need to say in order to get out of trouble. And then I'm just going to do whatever they say when I get grounded. So then when it's done, I can just continue living my life and continue doing what I do. Not learning anything or taking any kind of accountability. I didn't start doing that until much later in life. But yeah, I think most of my teen years, my parents really struggled with figuring out a way to discipline me because nothing seemed to work. And like, I just kind of... that was hard. My parents struggled. Well, my mom struggled disciplining me because like, I didn't like talking on the phone. Yeah. I'll never forget. She used to take the phone out of the house. Yeah. Like, I'll never forget my math tutor was over and she was walking out to volleyball practice and she took the phone with her and he's like, why is she taking the phone with her? I'm like, because I'm not allowed to talk on the phone. That's awesome.
He was like, okay. He was like, what if we need to call 911 or something? And I'm like, good luck.
Yeah. Go across the street.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's me. I wouldn't say I was like an awful teenager. I still was who I am, but I was just doing a lot of dumb stuff.
Same.
I wasn't really thinking about it. I don't think there was anything like psychologically wrong with me. I think I was just a teenager that just really wanted to experience as much as I possibly could, and it was really hard for me to not want to experience stuff because I gained a curiosity for like experimenting with drugs and with alcohol and with going to different types of events, like going to going to raves, going to parties, going to college parties. Like I just kind of just wanted to experience it all. And you know, I probably could have done without most of it. And I probably could have gone my life without doing most of those things and been fine. But I at the same time appreciate that I had a little bit more of an experience in high school, and I had a much more of a fun social experience in high school.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that's kind of the part that I'm like, well, at least I got this out of it, and that's kind of what I got out of it, because like I didn't go to college, I didn't have the grades to go to college, so it was just kind of like, well, at least I got a really fun experience out of high school. But yeah, as adolescents, I would say I was still pretty tame, even though I was getting in trouble a lot, and I got along with my parents kind of the same. Like I didn't really fight. I struggled with my dad a little bit, but I think he just didn't know what to do, and he just didn't know what to do with me. And I think that frustrated him, and I think I was just frustrated because I just wanted to be left alone, and that's not going to happen because I'm a kid. But yeah, always got along with my mom. I always got along with my stepmom. And my dad, we struggled a little bit, but it wasn't for that long, and like we're fine now, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like I just like I look back on it and it always feels so much worse than it actually is. Like when I really look back on it, I'm like, oh, I was just being a teenager. Like there was nothing like wrong with me. I was just like, I just wasn't thinking. I just wasn't like thinking about stuff, and I think that's about the only downfall of it was just I just wasn't thinking things through because I was so impulsive because I was a kid. Like,
well, that, and I mean, like I talked about my mom wanting to send me to a convent. I mean, I'm not even kidding you. Like 9 months later or so, she's letting me go to spring break because I've saved up enough money for it. So, I mean, my mom was definitely driven by like, I have to discipline you.
Yeah.
I have to, you know, like that's my job as a parent. But you are also growing up and going to be an adult. I need to teach you also how to have responsibility. Right. Now, that's not funding your trip to spring break, but right. You will be 18 and you could technically just go if you felt like it. So, yeah, I definitely feel like it was kind of in sort of ways similar to yours. It wasn't like, you know, we're best friends. It also wasn't, right. I hate you, like right. in the runarounds. Like those parents just piss me off, right. all of them, most of them. All right. Ready for your plot summary?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right. Episode 1 plot summary. Luke Bascom and Misha Frank, two detectives on their morning patrol, are discussing Luke's teenage son when they get a call from dispatch. They join several other police cars to the Miller residence, a normal-looking house in a suburban area outside of Doncaster, England. The police storm the house and locate the suspect, 13-year-old Jamie Miller. Jamie is being arrested for suspicion of murder. Jamie's parents and older sister are frantic and confused, claiming there has been a mistake. The police are gentle and kind to Jamie and notice he has wet himself. Eddie, Jamie's father, helps Jamie change into clean pants, and Jamie is taken away by the police. In the backseat of the cop car, Jamie claims he hasn't done anything wrong while sobbing. Jamie is taken to the police station and is processed. He is asked a few questions by a police officer and then taken to a cell where he is evaluated by a psychiatrist. She concludes that he is bright, clever, and mentally capable, just meaning that like he's competent, like he understands
what's happening.
He understands what's happening. He understands what a crime is. He understands what being arrested is. Like he understands the, you know, like the process of it all. Before arriving at the police station, Bascom advised Jamie on a few things. Since he is a minor, he needs an appropriate adult, which is basically a guardian to sit with Jamie during questioning. The guardian can be one of his parents or a court-appointed professional. While initially being processed, Jamie chooses his father to be his guardian during questioning, or his appropriate adults. Jamie's family arrives at the police station. Bascom informs them that Jamie has chosen Eddie to be his appropriate adult. Manda, Jamie's mother, seems a bit confused as to why Jamie chose him. Manda also claims that the police... This was unfortunately funny during a very serious episode. Manda also claims that the police damaged their property and manhandled them to the ground. Lisa, Jamie's older sister, tells Bascom that they weren't forced to the ground and the police were just doing their job.
I loved it when the detective was like, they didn't do that, ma'am. Like, very just calmly and simply.
Bascom asks Eddie and Amanda if they know an attorney or solicitor, as it's called in the UK, which I think a solicitor is a type of attorney in the UK, or if they're just the same word. I don't know if they're the same term.
It's solicitor, and then there's barrister. Like, one is like, I forget which one is which, but like a barrister, or I think, is the one that actually goes to court.
Got it.
And then a solicitor is one that's like more like in the office. I know that there is a distinction between the two, but yes.
They do not know an attorney or a solicitor, so they are appointed one by the court. They are introduced to Paul Barlow, the court-appointed solicitor. Barlow is briefed in by the detectives. We learn that the crime took place at 10:13 p.m. the previous night. Jamie has scratches on his arm, and there was blood at the scene. Eddie and Barlow accompany Jamie during his physical exam. Eddie is initially resistant to Jamie being naked and having his privates examined, but Barlow informs him that resisting will only weaken Jamie's defense. After the physical exam, Barlow, Eddie, and Jamie sit in an interview room, and Barlow goes over a few things with Jamie. Barlow insists that Jamie say no comment when he is questioned about the crime or if he's unsure how to answer. When Barlow informs both of them that the police have concrete evidence against Jamie, Eddie asks to be alone with his son before the detectives come in to question him. When alone, Eddie asks Jamie to tell him the truth. Did he commit the crime? Jamie insists that he is innocent, and Eddie seems to believe him. The detectives enter the interview room and begin questioning Jamie. Jamie gives them the no comment treatment until they take out Jamie's Instagram page. He posts mostly pictures of models wearing bikinis and lingerie while making aggressive innuendo comments. We also learn that Jamie has had some disciplinary issues despite being a good student at school. We also learn that Jamie's best friends are Jake and Tommy. The three of them are always seen together and do everything together. The detectives then bring up the evidence. A shoe was found at the scene, one that matches Jamie's and his shoe size. When Jamie is asked about a student named Katie Leonard, Jamie asks if she is dead. Jamie claims that he and Katie weren't friends, even though Katie frequently commented on Jamie's post. Jamie then backtracks a little, says that his friendship with Katie was more of a school friend, but they didn't hang out outside of school. Jamie starts being affected by the questioning whenever the detectives bring up Katie Leonard being stabbed 7 times. Jamie insists that he didn't see Katie the night before. Unfortunately, the UK and Europe in general is covered in CCTV, which I was like, oh, they have CCTV footage. I'm telling you right now, like they have footage because it's everywhere. So unfortunately, there is CCTV footage showing Jamie with his friends earlier that evening. We then see footage of Jamie following Katie. In the final piece of footage, we see Jamie and Katie having an altercation. Katie pushes Jamie to the ground and tries to flee. Jamie then tackles her, and it looks very much like he is stabbing her. His back is to the camera, so you can't really see what he's doing, but it's definitely a stabbing motion. Jamie and Eddie both begin to sob. Bascom and Miller are looking for a motive, but decide to give them a moment alone. While alone, Jamie begs for his father to talk to him. Eddie then hugs his son, while Jamie insists he is innocent. End of episode. Whew, and it was... It's so
bam.
It happened so fast. So the episode 1 is the longest episode. It's a little over an hour. The rest of them are like just under an hour. But I mean, it goes so fast. Like you could watch, like we say, you could watch it in an afternoon. First episode is so good. It just kind of immediately got me interested because we just kept getting like deeper and deeper into it, and so you just start becoming more and more curious. And for a minute, you're like, maybe this kid didn't do anything. Like, maybe he's just being wrongly accused. And then you see the footage, and you're just like, oh, that sucks. You're just like...
And then it becomes, like you said, this isn't a if he did it.
Yeah.
It's a...
why he did it. It's not a who done it. It's a why done it.
Yep.
Which is how the co-creators described it as.
Yeah.
And so, it's on Netflix. 4 episodes. It's really good. Watch it all in one day. Super easy. And it shows a very interesting side of the criminal and legal system. And it's very, very emotional. That final episode was, I mean, the whole show itself is very mentally and emotionally exhausting. But like the final episode, you're just like, I have nothing left in my body.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my God, like this is so sad. Like, yeah. So you get deeper and deeper into it, and you just become more and more enthralled by it and more invested in it. And you like, don't get too attached to characters. Like, don't get too attached to one setting or one, because each episode are like, it's like four
different
short
places.
movies. It's like four short movies. I mean, like, it's like four, yeah, it's four completely different types of episodes. And you see the detectives in the first two episodes and they don't come back. You see the psychologist just in episode 3.
The school and teachers.
You just see the school friends in episode 2. You just see
the family
in episodes 1 and 4. Like, it's very like it's very creative in that it really is just it almost just feels like 4 separate things, even though it's all telling the same story.
I said each episode is like a capsule.
Yes.
It's like that.
It's all one take, so it's literally an hour of these people's lives. Like, it's and I think that was, it took me a second to like kind of realize that. I realized that like in the final episode, I'm like, this is just the beginning of their morning. I'm just like that.
Yeah.
This sucks for them. Like, you know, this is an hour of their lives on a random morning, and they're just dealing with so much stuff. And Stephen Graham and Christine Chimarco and the girl who plays the sister, like, they gave such an amazing, I mean, everyone did a great acting job, obviously, but like Stephen Graham and Christine Chimarco as the parents, their performance in that final episode was just heartbreaking. Yeah. And especially the mom. Like, I wish the mom was getting a little bit more. I know she got nominated for an Emmy in the supporting actress, but I think the psychologist won.
Yeah.
I would have preferred the mom to win, because her performance was just so, she is trying so hard to keep everything together, and she's trying so hard to be like the strong one. And there's just a moment where she has like less than a minute by herself and she just starts bawling. And it's just like this very captivating, very moving moment in the episode where you're just like, these poor people. And you're just like, these people who, and the whole episode is just about like, we and the thing they keep saying is like, we created him. Like, we created him.
You weren't a bad father. I wasn't a bad mother. Yeah.
But we did create him. And that's what they kind of keep like, it's not that they're arguing with each other about it, but they're just like, we have to remember that like there is this dark side to him, that there is this aspect to him, and that doesn't make us bad people, that doesn't make us bad parents, but we have to acknowledge we created him. And I think that's the tough part. So we've talked enough. Once again, I'm like, we're not going to fill up an hour, and here we are.
And we are.
Well,
we did.
Yeah, very topical storyline, very easy to get enthralled in. It's on Netflix, 4 episodes. Go watch it now. I think that wraps this one up.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on. That way you'll be notified every time we publish a new episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at WeJudgePilotPod. We're also on Facebook and Threads. You can leave us a comment, suggest a show for us to watch, or leave some emojis in the comments. What you got?
All right, for Adolescence, I have the boy and the girl, the crying emoji, pants and the water, blood, the syringe, because they have to give him like, or take his blood or something. The phone and cameras, the UK flag, the cops, the detective, and the lawyer and the scales. All right, well, we are going to head out, but we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.